Okay, example 2. So same 3 steps. Find the y-intercept. I like this one because it already gave us 2 points, okay? And I'm trying to color code it this one. So find the y-intercept. So B. B is our y-intercept. So I'm going to go along the y-axis. So I'm looking at this y-axis. And I go down until I hit the line. Bam, right there. What number did our y-axis touch the line? Yes, that's 5. So that goes right there. That's our 5. Okay, and that's going to be replacing this B right here. Okay, all right, so now we go to our slope. Remember slope. Slope is what over what? Rise over run. We need 2 points, right? Okay, so we got the 1 point. Oh, this one's good because they gave us the 2 points. So let's count the rise. This is a tiny graph. How much was that? Good, +5. We're turning to the left. Is that positive or negative? That's negative. How much was that? -3. Okay, so we got +5 or -3. So that's going to go here. My pen is really taking up a lot of space. So that is the M. So that's going to replace this one. All right. So now we're going to write our own equation. We're going to write our own equation. So the X and Y stay the same. Y equals, instead of M, what do I write? 5 over -3. The X stays the same. Plus 5. And there you go. You're all done with the second example. Okay, for the third example, I want you to pause the video and see how far you can get on your own. And then when you're ready to check it, just press play again. All right, so for the y-intercept, we're going to look at the y-axis. So we look at the y-axis. Where does the line touch the y-axis? This is tricky because that's not a number, but we can figure it out. Okay, so it appears this graph is going by tens, but there's a space here. So this is 0. This must be, 5. And then, it's really tricky because what's half of 5? We're going to assume that is, what do you guys think, 7 or 8? All right, let's say 7. All right, that was tricky. Sorry about that. So our B is going to be 7. If you put 8, I won't mark you wrong. This was a tricky graph. Okay, from there, we're going to find a second point and find the slope. Okay, here. Now, this is a tricky graph. I'm sorry about this. Yeah, let's use this one here. And if you use this, I'll accept that too. In fact, I'm going to use both from there to there. And so this is not counting by ones. Again, this is counting by 5s. So I hope you are careful with that. So as we rise, we were at -5 and we're going up to 15. So that's count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20. That was tricky. Okay, so then this one appears to be counting by ones. Yeah, that's ones. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we went to the right. So that's +5. We can simplify this. So that's just 4 over 1. And now we have our M. So I'm going to put 4 right here. If it's a whole number, you don't have to write it as a fraction. If you do, it is still correct. All right, so this is our M. This is our B. Let's write our equation out. Y equals 4x plus 7. And on a test, if you see it written with the whole number, remember you can just put it over 1 to make it a graph. All right, perfect. If you guys did that really well, you should be proud of yourselves. All right, we're going to switch gears a bit. Example 4. Now remember, we just learned this one last week. So we are going to find the slope and the B. So now the B is when our graph touched our y-axis. Okay, so if I go back over here, on our graph touched the y-axis. So we know it touched it at 5. Our B was 5. But what is our x? What is the value of x at this point right here? Our y is 5. What's our x? Good. If you said 0, you are correct. So let's make a note over here. So we're finding the y-intercept. So on a table, when x equals 0. Okay, so on a graph, it's when it crosses the y-axis, but on a table, it's when our x is equal to 0. Okay, so now let's look at our table of values. Do we have x equals to 0 anywhere? Yeah, we sure do. So right there, right there. So what is our value of b? So b is -1. Okay. Now we're going to go back to our slope. On a graph, we were doing rise over run. On a table, it's similar, but we're looking for the change in y over the change in x values. All right, so let's see how much it changed by. I'm going to use these two bottom ones only because they look positive. I like positive numbers. You can use any of the values, remember? All right, so from 2 to 5, how much did we change by? 2 to 5, we increased. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we went up by 3. And from 1 to 2, we increased by 1. So I put 3 over 1, and that is our slope. Right there, our value, our change in values. All right, now let's put it all together. This one is our M. This one is our B. So be careful when we get to that plus sign, because now we have a negative. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So y equals, so that's going to be 3x. We usually do the plus, but now we have a -1. A -1 because our y value actually is negative. So instead of putting the plus b, it's a minus b. Okay. All right, example 5. This one's a little tricky. You know, I always like to throw in a trick or two. So we're going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with the slope here. Because remember I told you our y-intercept is when our x equals how much? Let's go back up. Yes, when our x equals 0. So when x equals 0. So this part. Okay. Now, do we have a 0 on our table? No, we don't. We don't. Okay, so first we're going to find the slope since we do know how to find our slope. All right, so let's pick two values. So let's say I pick these two here. Okay. Alrighty. So from 9 to 11, 9 to 11, we increase 9, 10, 11 by 2. Okay, from 2 to 3, we increased by 1. Okay, so our slope, so I'm going to put change in y over change in x, so that's a positive over positive. Okay, so our slope is 2. That's that value right there. So we still need our y-intercept, but we don't have a 0. But I think I told you this before. Our line, our graph, goes in both directions in infinite amount of points. This table only gives us 4 points. But if we were to plot the points and connect the line, the points would go way past positive 1, 2, 3, 4. It would go to, positive 10s, and it would also go to the negatives. So we can work our slope backwards to find the 0. Let me show you what I mean. So if we're increasing by 2 going this way, what do you think is going to happen if I go in reverse? So if I go from 11 to 9, what am I doing? Decreasing by 2. If I go from 3 to 2, decreasing by 1. Let's keep going. From 9 to 7, what was the slope there? What's the rate of change? 9 to 7. I decrease from 9 by 2 again. From 2 to 1. 2 to 1. I decrease by 1. If I decrease by 1 again, if I continue this pattern, because it's a constant rate of change, so it's constantly changing by the same number. So by -1, -1, -1. Can I go 3, 2, 1? What would be my next value? Yeah, 0. We created our 0. So if I can do that on the x values, let's do it on the y values. So 11, 9, 7. Let's decrease by 2. So 7 minus 2. Good job. Perfect. Perfect. That, my friends, is our y-intercept. Positive 5. I know that was something new for you. We'll do some more practice. That's our y-intercept. Whenever x is 0, the paired number with the 0 is our y-intercept. And we just used our rate of change to work backwards. We followed the constant rate of change. All right, so now let's put it all together. So y equals, let's use our m. So 2x. This is a positive 5, so we can still use the plus 5. And there we go. All right, our last page.